Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and this is a video that you have all been waiting for. We're going to react to my start of season predictions. We all know the video, me and the Bumblebee Taupe, the very smug voice, Barligan who, Bassey who, we know the video we're talking about, right? And it's time another slice of humble pie. Throughout the season, things have become evident and have been made a fool of, and mostly because of this video, but at the same time, any publicity is good publicity. So let's react to that and let's review the entirety of the Scottish Premiership season for each and every team in accordance with my prediction from the start of the season. Look, I think we're all just very happy that we're at the end of this season, some more than others. You know, it was dreadful. It really was. And not just because I'm a Celtic fan, and of course Rangers fans won't think it's dreadful, let's be quite honest, but 38 games we went through with not a single chance of fans being at the ground. I know we had a couple at Ross County and Aberdeen here and there, but no fans in the stadium. The life was sucked from the game all season. It really was a disappointment. And you know, a lot of teams will be happy with how their teams did domestically. You know, we've seen the likes of St Mirren have great seasons. Rangers have went on to win the league and stop 10 in a row. You know, a lot of people will be happy with how their team have done this season under these circumstances. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree watching the games and just it wasn't the same. Just taking it all in and thinking about it and watching it wasn't the same. Not the same without the fans, and I'm very glad that we now can see the back of this season. Now, will we go on to have a better one next year as a Celtic fan? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Let me know what you think heading into next season. Still a long summer to go, but look, let's go over my predictions from the start of the season. We'll try and do this as quickly as possible. Try and spend around a minute or roughly 2 minutes on each team. And look at how they done versus my predictions. What ones I got right, what ones I got wrong. We done this in January at a halfway point where things were a lot more open. And at that point, I was actually doing quite well with the majority of teams and where I kind of put them. But I think things might have changed. So let's have a look anyway. And if you're new to the channel, if you're not a Celtic fan you're watching, or you're a Celtic fan and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more daily free content. It does help me. And most importantly, please hit that like button. It shares the content out with more and more people. So let's get into this. It's a season review against my predictions. I should have made this interesting and took like a shot of vodka for everyone I got wrong. We'd be pissed by the end, right enough. So we're going to start with the actual league table, and we're going to go in the order of how that went rather than looking at my video first, and we'll give a kind of account of each team. So first is first, and that's Hamilton, and they are finally down. We've been waiting for years to say it, but Hamilton Academical have been relegated. They finished rock bottom of the table. I predicted them for 11th, so I wasn't far off, and I think in my video, actually, in the predictions video, I said I'm going to predict Hamilton 11th this year because every other year I predict them rock bottom, they managed to stay up. So I decided, you know what, just for the reverse juju, why don't I try it? I did try it, and it worked. Hamilton are down. I feel bad for them to an extent, and I know we've been saying we want rid of the teams with plastic parks, and this is a good start and all the rest of it, but Hamilton have done a lot of great work in their community, and they develop a lot of good players at Hamilton. You know, you can go as far back as the likes of James McArthur, but even more recent times, I'm sure Lewis Ferguson came through Hamilton. They got a lot of good players that come through that system, and they do a lot as a football club. And Brian Rice has been really kind of vocal this year and tried, and he's worked his absolute hardest to try and keep Hamilton in the division one more year. So I do feel sorry for them to an extent. But it was about time we got rid of them, and hopefully Kilmarnock might follow. They did fight and they fought hard. At one point it looked as though they were going to do it again. I was honestly convinced they were going to stay up, but just at the end they just came a little bit short. And one of the most interesting relegation battles there's been in recent years. Hamilton will fight back. They'll play well, I think, in the Championship. It'll be hard for them, no denying that, with a lot of improving teams in the Championship. You look at your Dunfermlines and your Invernesses and even Dundee if they stayed down. A lot of teams are looking good, so it won't be easy for Hamilton, but they will give it a good go, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see them back very soon in the Premiership. But you know what, let's see if they stay down there. I'm glad I got this one wrong, because it means that we all kind of won in a way. I'm sorry, Hamilton, it's still harsh. So in 11th place it was Kilmarnock, and I predicted them for 8th. I didn't think they'd have a good season, but I didn't think they would be as bad as they were, it was honestly quite dreadful for a large portion of the season for Kilmarnock, and it was only really towards the end where they started getting a little bit of entertainment. You know, they brought in Kyle Lafferty, they brought in Tommy Wright as manager to try and save them. But under Alex Dyer, things were not going well, and I felt bad for Alex Dyer at the time, because if you listen to Talk Scottish Football, I was a big fan of Alex Dyer. I liked him, I liked how he spoke, and I liked how he approached the game, but it just wasn't working. And you know what, I would say that maybe a few years ago when they finished third under Stevie Clarke, you wouldn't see this coming, but in all honesty, you could probably see it coming. It's not too much of a surprise that they're down there. That's where Kilmarnock were before Steve Clarke came in. They weren't a team who were up fighting for third place, so let's not let our memories go short here and think that Kilmarnock should be up in that top half. Ultimately, staying in the division for them should be the priority, and they might not. I think they're going to have a tough one with Dundee. We don't know if they're going to stay up or down yet, Kelly, but honestly, would not be shocked if Dundee were to pop them out of the league. Dundee are nothing special. I don't think they're a team who are overly concerning for the likes of Kilmarnock, especially because Dundee are a bit frantic at the back. I feel like that they're much better going forward there defensively. I've seen them a few times this season. They've been very messy. But it's certainly going to be a tough one for Kelly. They'll need to play their best. They'll need to be defensively very astute. And they'll have to keep Dundee away from goal, because they've got players that can do damage. And they've got big Charlie Adam there pulling strings as well. So Kilmarnock could go down. I did not picture them being in a relegation battle, though. I must admit, I'm kind of shocked at how bad they've been this season. Bottom half is what I predicted. But this... didn't see it coming. In 10th place, Ross County, who I predicted for rock bottom. So I made a little bit of a fool myself there. And, you know, especially after they papped Celtic out the cup back in, what was that, November, I was thinking to myself, Christ, this is the team that I predicted for rock bottom. This is a team that I predicted that would just drop out the division without much of a fight. I don't think I was that nice to what I said about Ross County. There was a point as well where they could have very easily went down, and there's a siren. I don't think I was very nice to Ross County, and I didn't have a lot of faith in Kettlewell. And it kind of was shown when he was sacked, but there was a point it looked as though they were going to go down. I was convinced they were going to be the ones to go down. I thought it was going to be vindicated. John Hughes came in, gave them a bit of a kick up the backside, brought a bit of personality to the team as well, I think. And I think he was what they needed now. I don't know if he's going to stay on at Ross County, but that kind of manager, you know, for as much as we might judge styles of football and time in the game and stuff like that, John Hughes was definitely, I think, maybe the spark of life that Ross County needed, and it's what kept them in the division this year. They fought hard to the very end, and those last two results, the win and the draw in the final 2 games of the season, pretty much kept them afloat. And I think if they didn't get that big win towards the end, then they could have been the ones in Kilmarnock's situation. But it shaped out nicely for them in the end. They stay up, not so much comfortably, but they do stay up. And once again, as I said about Kilmarnock, the priority for a team like Ross County is stay in the division, and they've done that. So they'll be very happy with themselves in that respect, considering the position they were in. But they know they can do better because they have the players there. How many will they retain? Who will go? Who'll stay? Will John Hughes even stay? We'll wait and see what happens. Big summer for Ross County. 9th place was Dundee United, who I think, yeah, they'll be quite disappointed. I think they'll be quite annoyed that they didn't maybe get into that top 6 after staying in that 6th place for a while. I predicted Dundee United to finish 6th this season, but let's not forget, Dundee United are just back from the Championship. This was their first season back in the top division, and for them to finish, you know, reasonably, I mean, I say they'll feel hard done by. They were 1 point off finishing 7th place. They were 1 point technically off finishing 6th, if you want to look at it like that. They kind of bottled it towards the end a bit as well, finishing that top half. But I don't think Mickey Mirren will be too disheartened. He says he's going nowhere. He knows he can build on this season. For the first season back, being so close to finishing top half is pretty much a success. For Mickey Mirren's side. However, there's a lot of things to work on there. I think this season they were a bit lucky, maybe how some results fell their way, because 1 or 2 losses off maybe being down in that situation with Ross County and Kilmarnock. They're a team who definitely need work. They need bigger players to turn up. They need players like Lauren Shanklin to be more consistent. He had a poor season in my opinion. I don't think he was anything special. He had glimpses of how good we know he can be, and he had brief periods of form, but you know, we expected Shanklin maybe to come up and do it over the course of the full season. He never really hit those heights. So Dundee United are once again a bit like Ross County. They need to improve in the summer. Mickey Mellon, as we know so far, is staying at Dundee United. Can they improve going into next season? Motherwell, they finished 8th this season, and with the position that they were in at one point, I think we'll be very happy. Once again, a team who climbed up a little bit with a new manager and managed to salvage something towards the end. A team who are also very close to being a top 6 side when you look at the points tally. I know I've said this about a couple of teams, but I thought Motherwell were doomed. I'd generally seen Motherwell going down at a point, and Motherwell fans have pointed that out to me. There was a point where I sat down, I was like, oh, do you know what? I think Motherwell could actually go down this season. But fair play to Graham Alexander, bringing a great resilience to the side, bringing a style of football that maybe on the eye isn't as pleasing as what you maybe had under Stephen Robinson, but was certainly a style of football that was perfect for keeping Motherwell in the division this year, getting points, and getting points on the board. That's what matters the most, and I think Motherwell fans will care about their Premiership status more than anything. Look, I predicted Motherwell for 4th this season, and if you look at the kind of seasons I've had in the past few years, that is certainly disappointing this season. There's no denying that. I think Motherwell fans to an extent will be disappointed, but they can certainly be encouraged by the last couple of months under Graham Alexander, and now they can kick on to a summer where they can build for next season. However, you've got to remember, Graham Alexander has a job in front of him. He'll be losing Declan Gallagher, he'll be losing Alan Campbell. How do you recover from that? Do you build it next season, or trying to keep a hold of Devante Cole? It's going to be a big summer for Motherwell too. Now, this year it looked as though they really did suffer with no David Turnbull in that squad. I know they were missing him all last season and they done just fine, but they really did show that they needed a player like Turnbull in that team. Are they going to succumb to the same mistakes next year with the likes of Campbell and Gallagher being gone? They need to learn from that mistake. This year they were very lucky to get the right man at the right time. I think Stephen Robinson, great deal of service. I was shocked to see them do so poor, but look, disappointing, but stayed in the division. St Mirren, to me, are like the wee sweetheart team you want to see do well. I don't know why, but I'm sure I predicted them 9th. They finished 7th, so I'm not too far off. So far, not one right, by the way. Not one. Not a singular one right. That usually I'm quite good at. Usually I get a couple by this point, not this year. This year's just like that. Nope, Ryan, you're not having it. But St Mirren, I kind of buying into everything Jim Goodwin's doing there, and I want them to do well. I actually said in the video I wouldn't be surprised if they went for sixth place or so, because I think in my behind the scenes predictions, I think I put St Mirren at 6th, and they weren't a kick the arse off it. They were very unlucky. They just fell short at the last minute, quite literally the last minute. 7th place, they'll be happy with that. Tony Fitzpatrick has seen them go to 2 semi-finals this season, just about make top 6. There's room for improvement, but there certainly has been a lot of improvement. Jim Goodwin has also signed a new deal throughout the season. I would be very encouraged to be a St Mirren fan at the minute, or being a St Mirren fan at the minute, because things just look up. The club have got a fantastic way of running things just now, and once again, a team who they only came up a couple of years ago. Of course, Jack Ross got them back in to the Premiership. But they only came out a couple of years ago. For them to make those strides and to play such good football as well under Jim Goodwin, I think is an added bonus to just staying in the division, having all that together in semi-finals and such. Because St Mirren are a team who have to battle with a kind of tighter budget and such, so it's not easy. But a good season for them. I would be very happy with how this season went as a St Mirren fan. Obviously, the annoyances are maybe missing out on 2 cup finals. You get to the semi twice and then just miss it. It was a bit of a bottle job when you look at it like that. But I think at the start of the season, if I wouldn't have said that was possible for St Mirren. 2 trips to Hampden and a 7th place finish. I would say, maybe one or the other, but I wouldn't see all of it coming together the way it did. So fair play to St Mirren. I am taking my time here. I always do this. I'm like, we'll spend about a minute on each team. Every time I do a predictions video or end of season review video, I always do it. Always fucking do it. And then we don't stick to it, and then we end up running so far into the video, and I'm like, I'm doing it now, shut up! Livingston, I predicted to finish 7th, they finished 6th. What a season they had under David Martindale. Look, when they went into this league season, I predicted I wasn't far off, of course not. I said 7th, they finished 6th, so I was in the right region, but I didn't expect them to start the season the way they did, and I didn't expect Gary Holt to get the sack as well. For the way that it's happened, it is very, very impressive, because they were really down in the dumps. They looked really poor. And it just looked like they couldn't recover from key losses in key areas of the park. Gary Holt called his time up, done it, threw his hands in the air and says, you know what, I'm leaving. And David Martindale came in, and what a job he's done, up there for the Manager of the Year selections, of course. But, a cup final, and then 6th place in the league. That run they had back when David Martindale first came in, honestly, unbelievable. And yes, they didn't do too well in the split. In fact, they didn't win a single game in the split, but can you expect them to with the teams they've gone up against? Absolutely not. Livingston, I think they hit the sort of area I'd expect them to. Certainly not in the fashion I did, though. This is where things get the worst. This is the worst one, the absolute worst one. St Johnstone, I predicted 10th, and I said I wouldn't even be surprised if they went down. They finished 5th. They've made it to 2 cup finals, winning one of them. They've got the chance to win the Scottish Cup at the weekend. Callum Davidson is manager of the year. What a season he's had. Obviously, I'm taking that out of the wider context of Scottish football, not just the Premiership. I'm talking all competitions. Callum Davidson is hard to argue as manager of the year. What a job he has done, following in the kind of tough to follow footsteps of Tommy Wright. He's came in and he's already bettered what Tommy Wright done there in 7 or 8 years. And I don't say that out of disrespect for what Tommy Wright done at St Johnstone, but this season St Johnstone have been unbelievable, and they're quite rightfully in that second cup final this weekend. They're quite rightfully in a position where they could win a cup double. Unbelievable. I had no faith. You can go back and listen to what I said about Callum Davis. I said, you know what, it might turn out okay, but I wasn't that faithful. David on the podcast tried to talk me into believing in Callum Davidson. I wasn't really having it. And now, he's left me looking like this. The right fool. Can they keep that up going into next season? We can only wait and see. But as for this year, just tremendous. Really well done from St Johnstone. And they've established a really solid team as well there. A lot of players who are getting ranted and raved about, from back to front. You've got your Xander Clarks, you've got your Sean Rooney's, your Ali McCanns. Even Stevie May has been decent enough this season. They've got a team there that people are believing in at the minute, and people are quite rightfully thinking they can beat Hibs in the Cup this weekend. They're a great team. They've had a great season, and I was proven wrong. I was proven more wrong with this than I was with Rangers winning. I'm joking, right? I'm joking. Jesus, calm down. Stop typing that keyboard. We're about to get one right, lads. We're about to get one right. 4th place. No, we're not. I'm not about half we were. 4th place, Aberdeen. I predicted 5th. I thought Motherwell would finish above them, so I got this one wrong as well. I did say I didn't see Aberdeen having as good a season as they usually do. I thought they were on a bit of a downward slope, and that was shown. Derek McInnes's reign at Aberdeen finally came to an end this season. They're going through a bit of a rebuild process as well. Of course, they're getting Declan Gallagher in, they're getting Scott Brown in, there's talk of Lee Griffiths joining Brown there as well. They're going through a little bit of a renaissance. Stephen Glass is the new manager. So that's very interesting. But as for this year, I didn't see them doing too well. I didn't think they'd be as good as always. Of course, they gave it a bit of a challenge for 3rd place, but Hibs ended up getting there quite comfortably. Aberdeen, they were just horrid this season. I know they finished 4th, and by all means, top 4 finish for Aberdeen is probably what you'd expect. That's standard. For the Aberdeen we've known over the last kind of 5-10 years. That's kind of standard finish for Aberdeen being that top 4, but they didn't do it in style. They certainly did not do it in style. They were so boring. The running joke throughout the season was, I've become used to calling them Aberdeen nil. Scoring goals was not for Aberdeen. They were probably one of, if not Celtic, probably Aberdeen was the most miserable team to watch this season. It was not great any time we watched them. Provided a cracker earlier on the season with Celtic, a 3-3 game at Pittodrie, but aside from that, I don't remember looking at Aberdeen at all this year and going, that's good. So a big summer ahead for Stephen Glass and Aberdeen too, but this year, I think that the fans spoke loudly enough and clearly enough from Aberdeen. They weren't happy, they needed change, they got change, and it's a new sort of era at Aberdeen, so we'll see how that goes. We got one right, we done it. Hip hip hooray, it's Hibs. We predicted them 3rd, they got 3rd. Another guy who could be up for manager of the year. Brilliant season from Jack Ross, and hopefully he'll be hoping for the icing on the cake this weekend against St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup. A 3rd place finish, a cup semi-final in the League Cup, a cup final in the Scottish Cup that he could win, getting him into Europe. Everything that Jack Ross in his first full season could accomplish, I think he's done. I don't think anybody expected them really to set the world alight with the way that the spotlight would have been on Celtic and Rangers this season, but Hibs have been good, and once again recruitment was good, and we said that at the time. I said that, and that was the key thing I had them in for 3rd. This is why I thought they were so clear of Aberdeen and at the time Motherwell. The reason I thought they were so clear is because the signings they made sense. Bringing in Kevin Nisbet, a guy who knows how to score goals, bringing in someone like Gogic who can play midfield, play at the back, done really well at Hamilton. They were really good signings, those two especially for me. And then you pair them alongside the likes of Martin Boyle, and then an already kind of younger team there as well. You've got your Ryan Porteous, Josh Doig now on the rise. Hibs have really got a bit of everything, and that's why they're doing well. and that's why they've done well this season. Will they get iced in the cake? I don't know, but if they do, Jack Ross, another guy who's up there in the conversation for manager of the year. I know Gerrard's won them now, but a guy who rightfully deserves to be in that conversation. Really impressive season. There was once again a point. Remember, there was a point where people were questioning Jack Ross's job, and there was people questioning what Hibs were doing back when they were knocked out that first cup in the semi-final. But since then, he really kicked on. And if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be very happy with how this season went. And don't crack the joke that I'm a Hibs fan. Don't. And finally, on to the final two. I don't really want to talk about them for that long. Celtic and Rangers. I predicted Celtic to win 10 in a row. And with the way that you know what, right? Let's talk about the prediction video. Well, I've not really sat down and had a great deal of time to talk about it. So the clip that always gets used, as we all know, is me with a very smug voice, the very sitting there, give it Balogun who, Bassey who, not one Rangers player would get into the Celtic team. Which deserves to be clipped. Look, I made an absolute mug of myself. I made a fool of myself. Rangers quite deserving of the league title this season, as we all know. Unbeaten champions, they ended up going in the league. So I can't take anything away from Rangers, and don't worry, I'm not going to try that. That clip was posted numerous times for the clout throughout the season across Rangers Twitter, and I don't blame Rangers fans. I really don't. And I look at it and I laugh. I do, because you know what, I'm in the position as a Celtic fan where my thoughts are always out there. We can all say things behind the scenes, and we can all say things to our pals in the pub and that, but I'm constantly putting my opinion on YouTube, so it's bound to get clipped, and I've got to get used to that. I don't mind. I laugh at it. I enjoy having a good laugh with it. I really do. But people leave out the part where I say this will be tight, this will be close, this will go to the, which is also extremely wrong. But people are forgetting that in that video I gave Rangers a genuine chance of winning that title. I did say Rangers won't make this easy, and they very much could stop the 10. But when I sat down and I made that video, and look, this is how I'll sum up both teams' seasons. And I don't think that neither a Celtic fan or Rangers fan can disagree with what I'm about to say. When I sat down to make that video, and when last season especially ended, I don't think anybody, Celtic or Rangers allegiance aside, would have seen what happened this season. No one would. And I was confident in everything I was saying. Maybe I was overconfident. Maybe I was too cocky. Yep, that's the way things go sometimes. But I don't think anybody would have seen this. Rangers going unbeaten. Celtic crumbling the way they did. After the way Rangers were playing, people were calling for Gerrard's head at the end of the 2019-20 campaign. There's videos of Rangers fans wanting Gerrard gone, wanting to have all this and tweets and all that and everything. So I was pretty confident Celtic would go and win 10 in a row, especially with the transfer window we had, and it looked like it was a formality, and I accept that I was maybe a bit overzealous with that, and I was maybe a little bit too confident. Rangers, Provost Dafties, the tone was set right back at the start of the season, right in that first derby game. That was when the tone was set. Rangers solidified themselves as the champions-elect for me, maybe as early as then, because we put no pressure on. We offered no challenge, and as I keep saying, I'm not taking anything away from Rangers. Absolutely not. They won the league deservingly, 102 points. You can't argue with it. But the tone was set right back at the start. Celtic just looked defeated, and we had a really bad season. And then our board defeated themselves. They were just, every decision made by the Celtic board was just shockingly bad. It was negligent, and it left us in a position where we could never catch Rangers. Once Rangers got to that, kind of 8, 9, 10 points clear position, there was no looking back. Rangers took it, they ran with it, and they just got better and better. And we could only watch from a distance. That's how it went this season. So I was cocky, I was confident at the start, and I probably will be at the start of next season. Let's not fucking kid on. But I'm joking. I've learnt my fucking lesson now. Look, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been on YouTube for 5 years. I've been doing it a long time, and it's the first time that I've probably had something thrown back in my face like that. It's the first time that I've been proven a dafty. I've been clipped. I've had a good time of it. That was the first. And it'll probably be the first of many now. But I didn't expect it to go the way it did this year. I really didn't. Obviously, I'm incredibly disappointed with how Celtic played this season. It's not taking away anything from Rangers. As a Celtic fan, I have to acknowledge that first and foremost. I've got to acknowledge that my team let us all down. They did crumble. And maybe it is just the myth of the 10 in a row. Maybe. But you can't argue with how good Rangers have been. 32 wins, 6 draws. breaking clean sheet records. He only conceded 13 goals all season. A brilliant season for Rangers and Steven Gerrard, and now it's about carrying that into a season next year and trying to retain that. Can they retain that? Will the impact of fans being back in the ground change much? I don't suspect it will. I think next year Rangers will be ready for another year of success. They'll be raring to go. They'll be ready to go and try and retain that league title while watching Celtic having to rebuild. It is not going to be easy. It's not going to be. But I reckon Celtic can come back with a bit of a fight. Bit early to tell just now. We need to get a fucking manager first before we start talking about any sort of fight. It's way too early to tell what will happen next year. I'm just hoping we can put in the fight. We were so disappointing this year. And from me sitting in that position back in when did I make that video? August, July, when I made that video, I was confident we'd see 10 in a row. I was confident of nothing more that we'd see 10 in a row. And we didn't get it. Of course we didn't. And Rangers lift their title on Saturday. And they know what it's like to get that league title back now. It's been a long time coming. We've been used to success. But look, it's the end of an era for Celtic. It's the start of a new one. And I think as Celtic fans, we should relish that. We should welcome that and embrace that there's a new era coming now. The chapter of that book is now shut. It's time to start a new one. So we'll see how that goes. At the top of the table, Rangers champions. They stopped the 10. The thumbnail said, can they stop the 10? They did. Not what I wanted, but they did. So I'll have to do it. Ladies and gents, it's a long one. I know it's longer than I first anticipated this video would be. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope you have managed to bear with me, and I hope you've managed to understand my reasoning and my assessment of every team's season. And I hope that the Rangers fans have enjoyed watching every single agonising moment of this for myself. This season has been a joy to report on week in, week out on this channel. It has been. It's been despite how bad it's been and how much I've been desperate for it to get to the end, it has been a pleasure. It's been the most successful season for me on YouTube, not just in terms of numbers, views, subscribers, but in terms of the content I'm producing. It's better than it ever has been. I've been doing it. I only used to do it for the big games because I never seen the point, and I've enjoyed doing it for every single game. So thank you for giving me that platform, that opportunity to do so, and I look forward to doing it again next season, no matter what. So thank you. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.